Alright, so, hello. It's been a while since I've recorded a video because I took a lot of time for myself. Um, I'm still going to be trading, obviously, and I'm still going to be pushing out content, but I just realized a couple things, taking this time to myself and stepping away from trading for now 2 months. I will be back in April trading, but I don't think I'm going to be posting content the same way through this time. Just being able to self-reflect, it's given me a lot to think about and to what to do, and just being completely honest with everybody. My natural calling is always just spreading information and teaching. um, I'm not trying to base this entire channel off of you guys watching me turn myself into somebody who makes $100,000 a month. I really do want to focus more so on preaching techniques and helping people elevate their consciousness and become more self-aware as an individual themselves. I do this normally, like every day, and I really do preach what I learn, to try to just raise the consciousness and self-awareness of people around me. And I had a conversation with somebody yesterday while I was going on a walk, a very good friend of mine, because I get a very reoccurring comment as to like why I don't start a podcast, why I don't um what's it called? Just why I don't post on TikTok, why I don't just make overall content preaching what I say, cuz like everybody always gives me the same comment that it would help them. And it made me think, it's hard to get into flow state when you hit the record button. It feels like forced, right? If I was just able to have a non-stop recording of myself with infinite storage, I would be able to pull content. But then it comes to cutting it up, it comes to editing and stuff like that. And frankly, I'm just too lazy. That's me just being completely honest. I'm very passionate about the information and I'm very passionate about passing it forward, but when it comes to all of the other things, I'm just lazy at it. But I'm gonna work on that. I did purchase CapCut, and CapCut makes things easier. Now, 2 minutes into the video, I'm always just very conscious of the time because I know how attention spans are nowadays. But I realize that my content is not for people with short attention spans. My content is meant to reach people who are just simply looking to raise their self-awareness by any means. These are people who if this video has landed on your algorithm, if this video has found you, it is because you are somebody who is like me. You want to grow no matter the cost. You're willing to invest into yourself, whether it's with time, money, any resources, energy, any of that. So we'll get into it. So specifically in this video, I want to talk about the mind. I want to talk about the mind's role into self-actualizing the highest version of yourself and becoming who it is that you want. So let's first start off with everything is your fault. Your entire reality, like this entire video is just going to be around the self-awareness of who you are as an individual and the components and faculties of your mind and how they play into creating your reality. I'm not going to go into anything else. I'm strictly going to stick to that topic. When it comes to other topics, I'll create separate videos for that. So let's talk about the different faculties of the mind. Everybody that majority of people who we would say are asleep, are not aware of the different faculties of their mind, and that is by design. Because everybody loves to talk about the Matrix, but nobody wants to talk about what it actually is. A lot of people like to say that the Matrix is a machine, essentially, a machine to dull your mind and to trap you with money, right? But that's wrong. I've come to this realization that the Matrix has nothing to do with money. The Matrix has nothing to do with any byproduct of materialization. All the Matrix is is a machine to blind the true self, to put the true self to sleep. That's all it is. The Matrix wants you to operate from the ego. The Matrix wants you to operate from the conscious mind. So, to get a little deeper into this topic, so everybody can start understanding and going deeper into these faculties, first we must start with the fundamentals of the mind. We must start with the overall structure of the mind. We have the conscious and we have the subconscious, right? Everybody likes to use those words, subconscious and subconscious, but don't understand that there are, how do I say? There are underlying mechanics working within the conscious and the subconscious. And Carl Jung makes people aware of this. I can 1000% give all credit, or not all, but an overwhelming amount of credit to Carl Jung for expanding my mind and allowing me to transcend past previous levels of self-awareness, and allowed me to not only raise my frequency but maintain it. And also somebody else who I can attest this ability to maintain is neuro knowledge. Two individuals that are very gifted in the way that they explain things. So just wanted to say that as a shout out. So let's start with the conscious mind. This is where a majority of human beings operate from. This is where they trap themselves, essentially. So not only do people only know about the conscious mind is just, people break it down to your thoughts in your head, the thoughts that constantly revolve around your head, and the thoughts that your mind produces. First off, let's get through the basics. You are not your thoughts. You are not your thoughts at all. And a lot of people, I like to identify themselves based on their thoughts. Just because you hear these thoughts does not mean that you are them. And also, by the way, if you just see me looking down, it's because I just have a hard time continuing with the cohesive train of thought if I look at myself, so don't mind that. Anyways, going back to the main point, a lot of people like to identify themselves with the subconscious mind. The conscious mind. I always tell people, anything in itself cannot affect itself. The same way that water is not wet, being wet is a byproduct. The same way that fire cannot be burnt because fire is burning, right? People attach themselves to the byproduct of something. And just based off the mere fact that you are able to observe your thoughts, hear your thoughts, and interact with your thoughts means that you are not them. So then comes into question, who is the person that is listening to these things, listening to these thoughts, right? And that is the 5D self. But let's continue on with the 3D, which is the ego. So the conscious mind is going to be comprised of the ego. Now, most people have a false definition of what the ego is. People think that ego is confidence or arrogance or just mainly those two. But that's actually incorrect, right? Arrogance is a characteristic, same way that confidence is a characteristic. But a lot of people identify those two characteristics as ego, which is incorrect. Ego is just a mere identity of who you think that you are. That's why when people have ego deaths, they don't know who they are. They lose that attachment to the identity of who they thought that they were. All of the thoughts, all the experiences, everything that, accumulated to become what is your life, what is your personality, that is your ego. Now, you have the ability to interchange your ego with any identity that you want. See, I laugh because a lot of humans like to use ego with a negative connotation, but nobody likes to address, people with a positive attitude with an ego, or people who are successful with an ego. Only people who are in poverty, people who are overconfident, people who are just, they believe are ahead of themselves or are in a negative place. That's when they like to use the term ego, but they never use it in a positive way. But what if we were to just substitute the word ego with identity, because in reality they're just synonyms, right? Ego and identity are the same thing. It's who you think that you are, the person that you are identifying yourself as, the person that you are acting out of, right? If we just look at it from that standpoint, then things become easier. We start being able to pick the characteristics that our ego is. Now, this is a slippery slope, because a lot of people, just because you can curate your ego doesn't mean that you are the person that you curate, right? You're still not them. It is just an identity for you to operate from. It's a natural identity, a natural set of beliefs, right? A natural set of thoughts that you can identify yourself with. And that will help you translate whatever it is that you want into the subconscious mind. And again, before we go into the subconscious mind, we're going to continue with the ego. Now, it takes time, right? The ego is comprised of all of the natural, or not natural, the ego is comprised of all of the natural regurgitating thoughts and experiences that are stored from your subconscious mind. And the only way, to affect the subconscious mind is through consistent and emotional experiences, like consistent regurgitating thoughts and emotional experiences, right? And that's why trauma is so easily able to penetrate through to the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is then what brings it into the ego, and then that's what you consciously start to think of whatever situation or whatever person or whatever group of people or whatever, situation you're just going through. So the ego is just a byproduct, right? And a lot of people like to base their life off of the byproduct. And a lot of people try to materialize from the byproduct, but that's all incorrect. You cannot operate from the ego. You cannot manifest from the ego. Why? Because the ego is a 3D construct. A 3D construct that cannot understand the 5D. So, going back to what the Matrix talks about, the Matrix is meant to feed the ego, right? They want the 5D self to be asleep. They want the true self to be asleep. Why? Because the 5D and the true self or the true self, which is 5D, is able to materialize reality at will, right? The ego is confined to specific fundamentals that are in this dimension, in this realm, right? In this thing that we call life, right? The ego can only understand what it sees, what it feels, what it hears, what it smells. It is confined to its sensory outputs. But at the end of the day, if I was to strip you away from all of your 5 senses and your ability to walk, and I was just to put you in a vegetative state, right? You would still be able to dream. You would still be able to think. You would still, or maybe not a vegetative state because you're essentially dead at that point, but in a state where you cannot move, you cannot interact with the world in any way, shape, or form, right? You still have the ability to think. So this drives us into the point of that we are just pure consciousness. We are only consciousness, right? So that's what people need to understand. People need to stop basing themselves just off of pure matter. Stop believing what the world is telling you that you are. And that is the Matrix. The Matrix is a mechanism to put things in front of your face, which the ego can only comprehend. And they have not taught you about the 5D, so you're not self-aware about the 5D. So the 5D does not understand that it is the controller, it is the driver, it is the operator. The 3D, the ego, now thinks that is the driver and the operator. And since it doesn't understand the 5D, it's basing its entire reality, it's basing all of its capabilities on the 3D. It is basing itself based off what you can see, what you can hear, what you have experienced in right now, right? That is what the ego is. So this is a very confining way to live, because now you believe that you will never supersede anything that you can't see. You now believe you will never supersede anything that you can't see. That is wrong. You will never be able to manifest. You will never be able to materialize reality based off of the ego, because the ego does not have the capabilities to create. It does not. Now, we can start moving into the 5D and its relationship with the 3D. So, the 5D is the true self. The 5D is the shadow. The 5D is, or actually no, that's incorrect. The 5D is the true self, which is the overall commander of the subconscious and the ego and the conscious, right? Because your subconscious is comprised of your shadow, right? And before I go even deeper into the 5D and the true self, right? We'll work our way up, right? Let's go to the subconscious, right? When it comes to the subconscious mind, the same way that the conscious mind is comprised of the ego, the subconscious mind is going to be comprised of the shadow. Now, what is the shadow? The shadow is all of the experiences that have been put away in the locker, stuffed to the brim, in the back of your head. It's not in the forefront of your head because you've had so many experiences and so many memories, so many emotionally charged thoughts, so many just experiences, overall experiences that the conscious mind cannot handle. It's like, the same way that a computer works. You need external storage, right? Your computer cannot hold everything. Like, your computer's memory cannot hold everything. So you move certain files, and you designate certain paths in your system, in your computer system, for your external hard drive, right? Your external hard drive is your subconscious mind. Your memory in your computer is your conscious mind, right? So the conscious mind has its own capabilities, and the subconscious mind has its own its own purpose, right? So, but now, the same way in a computer, you can recall certain information, you recall certain files, you can recall certain videos, photos, whatever, from the external drive, your subconscious mind. It's the same way. I really do like to relate the life, the universe's mechanics, and the body's mechanics, and to a computer. I really do like it. It's a very clean analogy, and it works in a lot of ways. So, going back to the subconscious mind and the shadow is going to be comprised of the child consciousness, right? The child consciousness is who you were as a child. It's all of your experiences, all of your memories, all of your relationships with whatever, with women, with relationships with men relationships, the dynamics, social dynamics, power dynamics, your relationship to giving, your relationship to scarcity, your relationship to lack, fear, your relationship to learning, like literally everything, like your ability to listen, like your ability, your relationship with abundance, just absolutely anything that you can think of. That is what the childhood consciousness is comprised of. It's all of your experiences from a young age. And this is why a lot of people's, or the Matrix specifically, likes to screw up the child consciousness, is because when you are traumatized from a younger age, then it is harder for you to materialize and manifest from the adult consciousness. And people have this fallacy or believe in this fallacy, where as you get older with age, that you escape the child consciousness, but your entire reality is based off the child consciousness. It is 10 times harder to manifest with a weak child consciousness and believe that you have a strong adult consciousness. It's very hard to manifest and materialize from the adult consciousness when your childhood consciousness is very weak, and also contradicting what it is that you believe in your child and your adult consciousness. And that's why people lack conviction in the things that they try to like rewire in their brain. Somebody who's always experienced lack in the childhood state, and their entire childhood consciousness is comprised of lack, is going to have a hard time manifesting and materializing in the adult consciousness. And it's because you have no conviction. That's not how you were. That's not what your experiences were from a young age. So this is now what you know. And there is a difference between thinking, seeing, and thinking, believing, and knowing. Shout out to neural knowledge. There's a very big difference between all three. When it comes to thinking and believing, usually as humans, and I'm speaking from personal experience, and this is why what I say to people, it hits them so hard, because I speak honestly. I speak from my personal experiences. And there is no difference between you and I. There's absolutely zero difference. We are mere different expressions of the universe experiencing each other in order to contribute to the overall collective consciousness of the entire world, which is God. So, people who try to materialize from the adult consciousness without acknowledging the childhood consciousness are going to have a very hard time materializing, because they are saying things without conviction. Based off your childhood experiences, which are all stored in the shadow, will dictate how, the level of conviction that you have in the things that you say and that you overall believe, right? But somebody who knows things to be true doesn't have any hard time manifesting. And it doesn't have to be good or bad. It could be whatever. I'm sorry, I was getting a call. It could be good or bad. And that's the one part that, this is a little sidebar, but this is the one part that makes me laugh, because a lot of people have skepticism when it comes to, the things that I'm saying. But what if I told you that your entire life right now, as you watch this, is already a manifestation of the things that you believe? You are the person that you believe yourself to be. You are experiencing the things that you believe are meant for you. And a lot of people will say, no, that's not true. I don't know what you're talking about. I know these things to be true. I know that this isn't true. I know that this is true. These are my experiences. Yeah. You were vibrating at this frequency. You believed that, whatever. What's it called? You believed, dude, come on, get off. You believed that these things were your reality. You believed that this is how life was. So guess what? Life is going to create experiences and situations that are in alignment with that frequency, because at the end of the day, we are all vibrating at a frequency. Nothing that you see on the screen is technically real. These are all just accumulations of light, and we can only see a specific portion of that spectrum. We can only see a very small portion of the entire light spectrum. Like, based on quantum physics, you're not even touching anything. You don't have the ability to touch anything. Everything that you touch is just repelling itself very hard off of each other, and like that sensation you feel is just touching. That's what you feel. Like, quantum physics literally proves that what you touch is not real. What you touch is not real. Hold on. There's this kid that I'm essentially mentoring, and he wanted to meet at 5:30, and I'm gonna tell him, give me 15 more minutes. Give me 15 more minutes. 15 more minutes. Okay. Anyways, sorry. Yeah. So a lot of people like to base their entire reality based off of what they see, which is, again, is the 3D mind. You cannot expect reality to bend at will if you are operating from the false self. The false self does not have the ability to manifest. So now, if your belief, right, if your deep-rooted belief is in, and conviction is in, that certain things won't happen for you, that's what reality will give you. It is a principle of the universe. And if you don't know what principle means, you're not going to understand the gravity of what I'm about to say. So look up the definition. A principle is something immutable. It's not going to change. It is a fact. It is a law. And a principle of the universe is that regardless of what you say, as long as you regurgitate it on a natural, in a natural way, and on a constant recurring basis, the universe has to reflect that. The universe is just you inversed. It's a mirror, right? And everybody has examples of this. That's the funny part. Like, people like to detest the things that I say, right? Because these are just things that they don't believe, and they don't even look at their own life. Like, if you really sit in the mirror, look at yourself, and are honest with yourself, your reality, like, everything that I'm saying is just confirming what your reality is. If you don't think you're going to get that job, you're not going to get that job. If you think that the interview is going to go bad, it's going to go bad. If you don't think she's going to say yes, she's not going to say yes. If you think that the date is going to go shit, it's going to go shit. If you think you could talk to her, you're going to be able to talk to her. If you think you're going to get her number, you're going to get her number. If you think that you could perform at this high level, you think you're going to win that game, you're going to win that fucking game. Because you're acting as that individual. You're acting with that level of confidence. You're acting with that level of flow state, with that clairvoyancy, right? So, to continue down the line, people, they neglect looking back at their life and seeing just how they really did. They did influence their reality, and there's just a lack of accountability. If the world was able to solve the accountability issues that it has, the world would be a very much better place. A very much better place, right? And to go and go back to our main point of, how the childhood consciousness creates the level of conviction that is necessary to relate to the 5D, so you can feel the emotions of things already being done and things being true, right? What you know to be true is where the conviction comes from. That's why, like, people who only, live in poverty. People who only have experienced poverty will continue living in poverty, is because that's what they feel that they're worthy of. Oh, I've never been able to get a job. From childhood. These are the things that they've experienced. These are the things that the Matrix has shown the 3D, the false self, to base its emotions off of. So since a child, now their entire reality and all of their memories and experiences are based off of those realities. And because you're operating from the 3D and you're only able to base how you feel off of your reality that's been constructed for you. That's why people say that if you don't know who you are, the world will tell you who you are, the Matrix. Those are the things that they're going to continue to attract. That's why you see rich kids. Rich kids, abundant people, they have only ever experienced wealth. They've seen how easy it is to make $10,000 a month. They've seen how easy it is to make the right connections. They've seen how easy it is to make the right investments, to talk to the right people, how to conduct themselves in public situations. That's why things go very well for them, or at least the people, who operate at the right frequency. And it's easier for them because the childhood consciousness is not tainted. The childhood consciousness is actually working in their benefit. It is giving them the level of conviction that is required from the universe in order to register that emotion as being authentic, because the highest form of vibration is authenticity. That's why when people say very real things and act in a very real way, it is felt. You feel it. Damn, I didn't like what he said, but he was keeping it 100. I didn't like what she did, but she was right. She was right. That was an honest answer. That was an honest act, right? So you need to understand these faculties and understand that, their role in your life. You need to understand that if you are not self-aware of these faculties and constantly monitoring, filtering, and readjusting and planting new seeds, nothing is going to go your way. Reality is going to take you for a ride, when in reality you can do you can do the opposite. You can take reality for a ride. A big hurdle that a lot of people that I talk to and teach these things to, they have a hard time getting over the illusion of time. Please hear me when I say this. You will do yourself the biggest favor the day that you destroy time. The day that you realize that time is not real, time is an illusion, time is a construct of the 3D realm, which is this life, right? There are multiple dimensions, and you even have the ability to experience the fourth dimension. You are already a 5-dimensional being, right? Your soul is on the 5D. And just take an example, right? People who have fever dreams, you'll be able to relate to this you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. When you have a fever dream, and I have a majority of my dreams are fever dreams, everything happens immediately. One moment I'm waking up, I'm like in the forest, in my bed in the forest, and then there's the door. I open the door and now I'm in a kitchen, and then I walk outside of the kitchen door and now I'm in Dubai, and I get into a car, and once I get out the car, now I'm in London, and then I'm having dinner in a restaurant, and then once I get out the restaurant, I don't even know, I'm in my childhood bedroom, right? Like when you are able to do all that, there's no time. There's no time. Everything happens immediately. What you want happens immediately. You want a car, boom, you turn around, there's the car. That is what manifestation looks like on a different dimension, on a different dimensional plane. That is what manifestation looks like. So Neville Goddard likes to talk about the bridge of incidents, right? The synchronicities that also Carl Jung likes to bring up, that life will take you along to confirm that you are in alignment with the frequency and overall reality that you desire. And when you take advantage of the confirmations that the universe is giving you, that what you're doing and what you're thinking is working in your benefit, it gives you more gas, it gives you more fuel and more conviction to understand, like, what I'm doing, what I'm saying is working. The universe is responding in real time. When you destroy the illusion of time, you stop waiting for things right now, because you begin to change internally immediately. That's why neuroanalysis likes to say that manifestation is just shifting yourself internally to the point or to the degree at which you are no longer dependent on your external reality. This is very profound because it's true. And if you really think about it, right, if you destroy the illusion of time, you get rid of this illusion of procrastination. You get rid of this illusion that or this sadness that things aren't happening for you, and that you're not seeing any progress, and then those thoughts eventually turn into emotions, and then those emotions then get registered to the universe, because once you emit the emotions, then it becomes a vibration. And because people get stuck into the entire mental loop of this is not working, it then festers into a frequency, and that frequency is what is responsible for materializing your reality. Because at the end of the day, the reality that you experience, which is the 3D, is only a mere collection of frequencies that are all in alignment with each other. So always monitor your thoughts and monitor the emotions that you are emitting. You always must be aware of this. And this is why, as you raise your frequency, you will then begin to heighten your self-awareness. This is why you must watch the music that you listen to, the movies and media that you consume, at what time of day you consume, understand different brave wavelengths, because a lot of people like to watch a lot of fuck shit at night, and this is when your brain is in theta, and in theta you're the most susceptible to new programming. Like, think about how many people doom scroll at night. Even sometimes me. Like, I'll catch myself doom scrolling, then I'm like, oh shit, it's 11 o'clock at night, you gotta be in bed. Like, you look what you're programming yourself with. And then you have dreams with those thoughts. And then those dreams, are just subconscious messages of like what you're really telling yourself on a deeper level. And then those things end up materializing themselves into reality, and you're like, where did this come from? It came from the shadow. It's a lot to somebody with a vanilla mindset, right? Somebody who doesn't understand themselves, right? So that's just the subconscious mind. If you the teachings that Carl Jung would try to get us into would be meditating, self-guiding meditation, where you just talk to yourself as if you were a therapist. And that's what I do. I would sit in the bed right behind you, and I would tell myself, okay, Ryan, today we're going to address and get more comfortable with understanding ourselves. And then what I would do is I would take a lot of deep breaths. I would do a breathing method where you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 7, and exhale for 8. I'll do that for about 5 to 8 times, right? After I'm in a very relaxed state, and also I like to visualize myself just completely detaching myself from my body, sinking into the bed and losing all sensation and ability, right, to feel or move my fingers. I feel myself just sinking and losing the ability to move my hands, any of my appendages, my feet, my toes, my tongue, my eyes. I relinquish all of their control. I forget that I even have the ability to move my appendages and anything. I forget the ability to just control my body. And then it brings me into an even deeper meditative state. And now I am perfectly primed to speak and interact with my subconscious mind. And then I guide myself and I talk to myself about, childhood experiences and whatever it is, because, I go into these meditative states with an intention. I want to address, why do I feel lack? Why do I feel fear to put myself out there? Why do I feel fear to approach this girl, or to defend myself in this situation, or to speak up for myself, or to perform at a high level, or why am I scared to perform at a high level? Do I feel like I'm going to embarrass other people? Why do I have FOMO? Why do I feel like the reality that I want is so outside of myself, right? Ask yourself all these questions. Be very honest with yourself. The more that you lie to yourself, the harder it's going to be for you to get to these deeper levels and being able to address the shadow mind. Because at the end of the day, bro, the shadow is you. The child consciousness is you. And all you want is attention. All you want is what you didn't get at a younger age. Now you have the ability to give it to yourself. You have the ability to rewrite these memories. Your brain has no ability to differentiate between what is real and what is fake. That's why a lot of people get caught up in daydreams. They get caught up in realities that are not real. They get caught up in what if situations. They like to run these imaginated scenarios and, base how they feel off of that. And then because this is how now they feel towards that imaginated reality, they manifest it and they act out of it subconsciously. See, like, you're doing these things unconsciously but you're seeing the results of them working. Now, what I'm doing is making you aware of the things that you are doing unconsciously and giving you the ability to recognize it for what it actually is and then refine it to work for you. That's why I'm talking about all this stuff. Every single one of you have the ability to change your lives, and it starts right now. And this goes back into what I was saying about time. As long as you get rid of the damn, he's calling me. Wait. As long as you have the ability to, what's it called? Destroy the illusion of time. Fuck. Sorry. Okay, I only have 5 minutes left. All right, we're gonna wrap this up soon. But as I'll end it on this note. Destroy the illusion of time. As long as you destroy the illusion of time and you address the subconscious mind and the childhood consciousness, then you're going to be able to start manifesting and addressing the things from your childhood consciousness. Once you change your childhood consciousness to remember situations in ways that you want to, right? And I'll just be very honest, right? I grew up blessed. I will say that. I grew up blessed. My parents were able to move me out of a very bad environment at a young age. And even though they had to take out loans and put themselves into debt, they were able to provide me with a better lifestyle. And because of that, I was able to live, fortunately in a better environment. But it still didn't change, like my parents. Your parents inherit the beliefs of their parents, especially if they're not self-aware. So my mom, she has a very poor vocabulary when it comes to money. She has a very poor relationship when it comes to money. And even though I wouldn't say that I completely identify, I can see how it's seeped into my childhood consciousness, and then later matured itself into my adult consciousness, which kind of like messes up with how you just look at money and opportunity in certain ways. That is now dead. I don't have that anymore. Why? Because what I would do is, in these meditative states, I would go back to those memories where I specifically remember, moments where, my mom would say certain things like always and about money, always worried about money. And I rewrote them to my mom saying that God is so great. Everything always works out. We have so much money. Like, I would rewrite the memories for my own benefit. And then and then I would spawn my current self talking to my younger self, and I would tell myself it's okay to believe these things because this is reality. This is all we've ever known. And when in a deep meditative state, when you penetrate the subconscious mind and you rewrite that memory, your brain doesn't know if it's real or fake. And then when you say it with conviction, you feel it in your heart, right? You register that to the universe. Now it's in your subconscious bank. Then that immediately translates itself to the adult consciousness. And now any relationship, anything that has to do with a relationship towards money now comes seamlessly. It's magic. That's the technique that I use, and that I believe is a very potent technique. So, just get rid of the illusion of time, because if you use the practice that I gave you and the technique that I gave you, and then you stop caring about seeing things in front of your face. Like, if you really give a fuck about what is in front of you and what you're experiencing, just know that you're operating from the 3D. Know that you're operating from somebody who doesn't understand the fundamentals of this life. Somebody who doesn't even have the ability to manipulate the reality. The only person who's able to manipulate your reality is the one who is listening to the thoughts. Every single day, you need to focus and train yourself to start operating from the listener. Take away control from the ego mind. Take your power back. Because again, that is the matrix. The matrix is just a mechanism. It is a tool from dumb boys and the people who are in power, the elites, right? It is a mechanism for them to subdue the true self, put the true self to sleep, allow the ego to create this false narrative that it has control, and then they control what you see and experience, and they know that these are the things that's going to translate into your conscious mind. You're going to base yourself off of the poor reality that is in front of you. Those emotions are then going to translate themselves into a vibration. That vibration is going to grow into a frequency, and then that poor reality that you're trying to escape is going to continue creating itself, and then the entire cycle starts again. You create the poor reality based off the things that the matrix put in front of you. The reality gives you the emotions. Those emotions translate into a vibration. Vibration turns into the frequency. Frequency creates the reality, and the entire cycle starts again. Poor reality, emotions, vibration, frequency. Reality, poor reality, emotions, frequency. Vibration, frequency, poor reality. The cycle never stops. But the 5D breaks that, because once you operate from the 5D, now outside of yourself, it literally is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. You feel the gratitude. You recall moments of abundance. You just create realities in your mind. And then now you're experiencing that bliss. You're experiencing that peace. You act out of abundance. You act out of that confidence. And then you subconsciously start acting and reacting in the world with those expectations, because you know that you are that confident individual. You are that abundant individual. You are that opportunistic individual. And then reality starts to reflect those knowings. And then those experiences are going to be bookmarks in your brain, now giving you those positive emotions. Those positive emotions are going to fester into a vibration. That vibration is going to fester into a frequency. Now that frequency is going to continue to regurgitate positive scenarios, situations, and experiences. And then the cycle now repeats itself over and over again, but in a positive way, because a different individual is now, you're starting at a different starting point. So yeah, that is the video. I'll do my best to do these type of videos and talk about different topics, but that was a little mental breakdown of the faculties and fundamentals of the subconscious and conscious mind. In other videos, I'll break down the true self. I'll break down the rest of of things that I talked about. But for now, if you enjoyed these videos, or in this video specifically, leave a comment, like, subscribe if you want. I really don't care. But one thing that I do want is questions. So if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll adjust them in the video. It'll also give me more talking points. And also your experiences as well. We'll talk about it. So I'll leave it at that note.